Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new Geekscape episode. I'm Jonathan London, your host. And if this is your first Geekscape, we're going to be talking some pop culture, a little bit of current events, and that's just what we do. It's what we've been doing for quite some time. My co-host Katie is going to be joining me, and this is basically just an episode where we're going to be talking to y'all. So jump in the comments if you'd like about some things that are going on, right now, in the here and now, and also a bit of I don't know, mainly like what's on your mind. So this is definitely a Geekscape Live audience-focused episode. We'll be talking, of course, about the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and I'll also be giving you thoughts on New Mutants and Bill and Ted Face the Music, along with some other news and going-ons. And so that's kind of what we're doing. The reason for that is, in all honesty, I've spent the last couple of days calling up fellow podcasters, fellow friends of mine who do kind of the same kind of stuff that Geekscape does. And just kind of thinking to myself, there's stuff that's more important than Geekscape. How do I get myself fired up to do some Geekscapes? Not that I'm not fired up to be here now, but I think that we have built this platform over a very long time, and we should use that platform for good. We're kind of in a bit of a crisis moment as a nation and as a world. Globally, we're facing a pandemic. Nationally, we're facing civil unrest. And I think that it's imperative for all of you who are Geekscapists, who are listening right now, to go out there this November and vote. I think that's a message that I'm going to be carrying for every episode from here on out. If you're not registered to vote, it's real easy. It is super easy. You just go to www.vote.gov, vote.gov, and register to vote. I recently re-registered to vote because I changed addresses, and when I did, it was awesome. I just kind of like went to the USPS, the Postal Service, and I went to their website to forward my mail, and they had a little box that said, do you want to change your voting address as well and register to vote at your new address? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And not only that, I checked that little box that said volunteer as a poll worker on voting day, November 3rd. It's coming up quick, and like I said, it's really important for you to vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I will tell you that this, mainstream media idea that both sides are similar is ridiculous. I think that the horse race is imperative for them to think, oh yeah, well, there's looters on this side, and there's militias on this side, and both sides are troublemakers. Yeah, I don't know. The only thing that I can see is that there was a parade down Ventura Boulevard blocking traffic and terrorizing people, and it was full of Trump flags and "Don't tread on me" flags, and the trucks were pretty big, so there was a lot of small penis stuff going on in that parade. And I don't really see a whole lot of trucks running around being like, Biden and Kamala Harris, just shooting paintballs at people who are terrorizing and this and that. And Antifa Airlines, did you hear that in the news? The president came out and said that there's airlines full of thugs that are ready to go to cities and cause mayhem and havoc. Well, that's weird. It made me think of like the troop carrier that they use in the Expendables to go to like some third world, like South American country, to fight whoever it is that they had to fight in the Expendables. The whole narrative is insane. I don't think both sides are equal, and all you have to do to tell yourself to check and see whether or not both sides are equal is ask yourself if today, when we're recording this on September 2nd, 2020, if 4 years ago, in 2016, if things were better or worse. Did we have a raging pandemic that could have been prevented? Did we have civil unrest? Did any of this stuff happen? To a degree, yes. We did have some police killings. We did have that stuff, but going and having these mass protests and then the resulting reaction to protests. Remember, protest is the one that's in the Constitution. We have not had that. And you can always argue that the Second Amendment is also in the Constitution, but I think the Second Amendment was to form a militia to overthrow a government, and I don't think the government's who they're fighting on this one at all. So again, register to vote, please. It is important. www.vote.gov, and that is my plug for voting. Here is Katie.
Hey!
My co-host. Katie, how are you? Do you think the kids got the message on that one?
I sure hope so, because I'm going to say go vote, please, and get your early ballot as soon as possible. Because Mark and I it was our first time traveling outside of the house this week, and it was during this massive Ventura Boulevard Trump rally thing going on. And I'm not going to lie, it's terrifying.
Yeah, you live like a few blocks from Ventura Boulevard, and
like a block. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's dox you. Let's go ahead and just give your address out on the internet.
Okay, great.
So you live like a block from there, and then suddenly on Sunday there's a Trump rally going down the street by your house. How annoying was it?
Incredibly annoying. Well, first we were just hanging out in the house, and typical Sunday afternoon, just chilling, playing some video games and whatnot. We're like, oh, we got to get out, but we kept hearing this like loud horn. I was like, do we have a train nearby? Is there a train track nearby? Because it sounded like a giant train was rolling through and honking its horn. No, they were like military tanks and Mack trucks that were going down the street.
Wait, you said tanks?
Tanks, yeah, military tanks with like Trump flags on them and the whole camo and everything. I'm not kidding. Like, it's kind of shocking how normal that's becoming down Ventura Boulevard. All these like tanks, and I thought it was for the protests and things like that. And towards the beginning of quarantine, when we had a lot of like the military potential happening around the area. No, now it's for rallies, and apparently they also had 2 helicopters flying around because it felt like they were good.
You need flight. Like I know you need flight clearance for helicopters. Like, these aren't just drones. Like, you need flight clearance for helicopters. I know this because I went up in the air in a jetpack yesterday. I don't know if you saw the news.
Was that you?
That was me.
Why did you do that next to LAX, dude?
Geekscape is the other thing that happened. I think late Sunday night was that airlines coming into LAX, a couple planes reported seeing a man in a jetpack flying around 3,000 feet in the air, and they were telling the LAX tower that a man was flying around in a jetpack. And I did, you know what? I just wanted to test it out. I just wanted to see how high it would go, and if it got me to the moon and I could leave this cursed planet, I was going to do it. So
okay, I see. Yeah, I see. It's good reasoning.
Dude in a jetpack flying around LAX.
That's the least crazy thing. And also that's been happening lately. And also David Blaine is like hovering over Arizona with a bunch of balloons right now.
Yeah,
I assumed that was David Blaine, so yeah, now I know it's you.
It is David Blaine, and he's just a big Up fan. He loves all the Pixar movies. Next, he's going to try and do Inside Out with his emotions, and maybe go to the Land of the Dead, like we saw in what was the one about my people? Coco.
Oh my god, that movie made me cry so hard. But
I put it in the chat, but you're a little hot on your mic. If you don't mind, like just like don't touch it, but like move it a little away from your mouth. There you go. I think that's a little better. Nick Spanis on the chat wants to know, Katie, were these civilian tanks? I mean, honestly, if you would have done this 10 years ago, you could have seen Ventura Boulevard filled up with a parade of Hummers and a bunch of dudes like in tight designer jeans and stuff. Like, that's something that's happened on Ventura Boulevard a lot. Remember the scourge of like Hummers that LA suffered like 10 years ago? Everybody had a Hummer.
People loved those things.
They didn't love the gas prices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they still kept them, and they kept them going. I don't know what the heck this was. I assume they were military tanks because they looked like they came straight out of the desert.
Wait. My question is this: what's a civilian tank?
I think he's being ironic.
Okay, all right. When the question is, are these civilian tanks? No, there are no civilian tanks.
Someone retrofitted one. They're like, oh, I got it at a used car sale. It was a big old tank.
When we were making Dock of the Dead a few years ago, I went down to it was like Downey. It was off the 5, and there was a person that made like bug out shelters. He would get these enormous like oil drums, huge ones, like you'd use. I mean, probably the ones that you'd use for a gas station, but they're huge. And he would retrofit them with air conditioning filters, air conditioning units, living quarters, things like that. What? Enormous. They're the size of an apartment. And then he provided like this bug out service where he would go and then bury it somewhere in the desert, give you the keys, and now you had like a Fallout shelter, like in freaking Fallout, the video game. You'd have a Fallout shelter that when the S hit the fan, you could then go and live in this shelter. And I interviewed the guy, and he showed me one of these Fallout shelters and talked about where he had them. Or who he makes them for. And I asked him, I said, do you have, I mean, you make these, you must have a Fallout shelter of your own. And he's like, I do. And I said, and like, where is it? And he's like, I can't tell you. Cause then if, anything happens, I try and go to my Fallout shelter. Maybe you'll already be in there waiting for me with a gun. I said, no. The reason I'm asking this is if you're in Los Angeles and you build Fallout shelters, and then you build the thing out in the desert, like in Barstow or something, which is it's like a 2-hour drive.
All right.
Let's say the shit does hit the fan. Have you been in 5 o'clock Los Angeles traffic? You're not making it to Barstow. You have to already be living. You have to be living in your Fallout shelter when the shit hits the fan. So for everybody preparing for the Civil War, and again, this is my reminder, please vote November 3rd. Register to vote at vote.gov. Go ahead and do it. You have to be living in these bug out shelters by the time the Civil War starts, or you're meat. You end up becoming food.
Yeah, I have been prepared for a long time that I'm probably going to die in the apocalypse. It's just going to happen. I'm not even going to fight it. It's like, look, I have some skills and they're all digital. Like, I cannot do practical.
Mau on Twitch says, well, that's why I live in the woods. I got to tell you, they ain't going to tell you which woods they live in, but the woods has like things that'll provide for you. There's animals, you can build a shelter. There's all sorts of stuff out in the woods. But again, as we learned in the zombie documentary and making the zombie documentary, there's nothing you can build that humans cannot get into. Everything anybody has ever built has gotten into. Yep. Humans have figured it out, So the
I will
Civil War,
though, if any of my Minecraft skills have translated, I'll just be punching trees the whole time. Again, I'm going to die in the apocalypse. It's set in stone here.
My advice to all of you is, and this is an honest advice, especially like during the pandemic and this and that, is without your health, you have nothing. So, stay fit, eat well, it's hard for us geeks. Like, I love snacking. This is what every day I have one of those, and they're not even like the good coffee. They're the straight out of like freaking 7-Eleven bottled mocha frappuccinos that Starbucks puts in the bottle. I have one of those a day.
Buddy.
And it doesn't matter if I run or don't run in the morning. I have one of those with my eggs and my turkey bacon, whatever. But you need your health, because this freaking pandemic, it doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well. And as we learned on the last episode, Geekscape, is Katie's boyfriend, Josh, his father was perfectly healthy for his age, claimed by coronavirus. And now there's this news. I don't know if you saw this news, but on Instagram, The Rock has coronavirus.
Yeah.
Like The Rock posted on Instagram that his entire family got coronavirus, and he and his wife actually got pretty sick. They're feeling better now. But if The Rock, who is, I think let's see, let me count them. Top 3 human physiques of all time. We can do this. Okay, top 3. I'm going to go with The Rock.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Chris Hemsworth.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna go with Chris Hemsworth. This is my perfect physique draft, and I'm doing males only. I'm gonna say LeBron James, who at like 38, 39 is still like in his prime in the NBA. So I'm gonna go with those 3 perfect physiques, and one of them, The Rock, got corona, and it made him pretty sick. So.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of people that have been affected by this, and it's sometimes really hard to tell where you get it, because they're talking about how it's airborne, it's aerosols that can stay in the air for hours and possibly even days. Like, there's a lot of it. I think the thing that's really frustrating about all this is that the science is still very new, and we're seeing a lot of the science unfold as we go. And I know many people have quoted to me the 6% thing, where it's like 6% of people who died of coronavirus were also coexisting, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, if I had a cold and got the coronavirus, I would likely kick it because this thing takes over in such a horrible, horrible way, and it goes fast. And yes, even people who are completely fit are getting knocked down by this, and we don't even know the repercussions of what's going to happen further down the line. Like, even if you are top fit, you will probably have heart issues for the rest of your life if you get coronavirus. And people saying that it's their right not to wear a mask, fine, but do that on your own, because you can still be giving it to other people. So it's your right to also be responsible towards other people.
Yeah, and are these the same people that were protesting Kevorkian helping people kill themselves? Because it sounds like a lot of these people just kind of want to kill themselves. Rick, though, on YouTube says, you forgot that Sam has a great physique. No homo, he says. Can I say that? I don't know the politics of still saying no homo immediately after.
You can appreciate the same sex.
You can absolutely. Like, I've been in the room with both. I've talked to The Rock. I've talked to Chris Hemsworth. I've been in the room with these individuals. I felt like a piece of primordial sludge next to those men. And I got to tell you, I never had to, in parentheses, say no homo. I will just totally straight hetero say I appreciated those men's physiques. I think they're amazing. And LeBron James, if you are watching this, I got to tell you, love you, man. Definitely heartbroken that my beloved always will be underdogs. Utah Jazz were eliminated last night from the playoffs. But you know what? This is Geekscape, and if you can't geek out of everything that you love here, where else can you? And damn, was I screaming my head off. They lost by 2 in a 7-game series. Jim Pelgrinelli says, tell the 6%ers that they can eat 94% of what I left them in my toilet. I posted it on Facebook, but my view really on the 6% non-comorbidity. It's only killed 6% of people that didn't have previous, ailments or comorbidities. So that's like if you have pneumonia, or if you have a weak heart, or if you're taking medication for breathing or blood pressure, or you're overweight or have diabetes. If you die with any of those things, it's classified as a comorbidity. And the CDC came out and kind of irresponsibly, there's a part of me that feels like when they got defunded, there were, it's like, oh, you can keep your doors open, but you kind of have to push our propaganda. This 6% thing is like 6% people who are perfectly healthy have died of coronavirus. Everything else was a comorbidity. If you are arguing that 6% rule, that whole factoid, all I know is that you skip the entire AIDS epidemic because that is an immunodeficiency virus.
Right.
It's
going to affect a lot of things. You
die of things that you were sick of. Like you get the flu, you die. It destroys your immunodeficiency. Your entire defensive system is attacked by that thing.
Right.
And
it's like a bull in a china shop. Like, it's just going to knock everything over. And anything that was even teetering on being an issue is going to be knocked down. And by the way, I didn't say this before, and I'm really regretting it, but Mau Mau, what's up, dude?
What's up, Mau Mau in the house? We do love our live viewers. And Geekscapists who are listening to this on the podcast, you can find us on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. Talk to us. We love talking to you all. Here's something that's funny. We were talking about LeBron James. I mentioned LeBron James. If you're watching this, and the offer still stands, if you are in the NBA bubble in Orlando and you're watching this just to stave off boredom, please, you're welcome to come on Geekscape anytime. So I record a few different podcasts that I produce for other people. And listen to this. Ronnie Chang, who's, he's a Daily Show correspondent. He's got a Netflix special. Right now he's a stand-up comic. He was in Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes.
He was the guest on this other podcast, and I'll tell you, I think he's in the Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, a Marvel movie. He was a guest. He didn't talk about Shang-Chi. He cannot talk about
NDAs.
He's got NDAs. But Ronnie was a guest on this other podcast, and so I'm looped into the emails because I produce the podcast, and I get this email yesterday morning as I'm literally just emailing Ronnie for a bio and a headshot that I can use in promoting the episode.
Yeah.
And Ronnie goes, wait, are you the same Jonathan London that hosted Geekdrome back in the day with the podcast? I listened to you every episode when I was in university.
Shut up, dude. That's awesome.
Like all caps, like CCing everyone else who's involved in the project, CCing at the bottom of the email, here's my bio in headshot. Oh, wait a minute. All caps. Are you the Jonathan London that was, I listen to every episode. So of course I invited,
please tell me that,
of course I invited Ronnie onto the show. Of course. He's going to be in Shang-Chi. Master of Kung Fu.
I was hoping that you would just be like, no, that's not me, dude, but thanks.
Meow Meow did say, listen, Meow Meow was like, hey, I'm here for El Sassy Pants. If you are here for Katie, Meow Meow, I'll take it. I'll take it. Any day of the week. You do not have to be here for me. But he definitely says that the Silver Hawk was in Crazy Rich Asians. Hey, he is a crush of Meow Meow's. Yeah, I think Ronnie was awesome. Ronnie Chang's amazing. We'll see what happens. I don't know whether he comes on Geekscape or not. It doesn't matter. I just thought it was cool that it was just cool that anybody, if anybody who listens to the show, you never know who's watching your shows. You never know who's like consuming your art, your music. Right. I tell this to all the creatives out there, all the people who are thinking about like, oh, maybe I should pick up a guitar. Maybe I should tell that person what I think. Maybe I should, during quarantine, like write that novel that I was thinking about. Just do it. Get it out there. Digital distribution. This was back in 2005. So like,
yeah,
you got to get it out there. There's more channels now.
You never know who's watching. You never know like who's going to be inspired by something. And also like, it's something that I brought up on my game room today. It's just like that thing that you've been thinking about constantly and it's just been nagging at you. Just do it. Like, who cares about what people like preconceived notions or judgments or anything like that? Because someone's going to be affected by how great you are and how passionate you are about what it is that you want to do. So just do the thing and show people what it is that like you love about whatever the thing is. Oh, here comes Heidi.
So that was an email 15 like years in the follow-up. That's and it was awesome. Pretty cool. Yeah. And Heidi says, oh, wait a minute. I watched that Netflix special. That's hilarious. Ronnie is hilarious. And it was very flattering to hear him say like, oh, dude, like when I was in university, I listened to your podcast and it's amazing. And I said, well, come on to Geekscape. Come hang out with us. And you don't have to listen to Geekscape. You can listen to anything on the Geekscape network. I'm a big fan of Matt Kelly's Horror Movie Night. I'm going to be on an episode of that in the future, talking about Chud. I don't know if y'all ever saw that 80s movie. Oh my
gosh, cannibalistic humanoid underground
dwellers.
Underdwellers.
Yeah, we're going to be on that one. That's a Daniel Stern classic horror movie. When you think of Daniel Stern, I don't want you thinking about City Slickers, and I don't want you thinking about Home Alone. I want you thinking about Chud. So I'll be on that probably the next couple of months. And then what do I got? We got One Hit Thunder, which is a fun podcast with Chris Fafalios from Punchline, who do our theme song. They talk about one hit wonders and they listen to the whole discography and they're like, wait, this band was actually pretty good. Or they'd say, oh, no, wait, this band stunk. They only had one hit for a reason. And then there's 91 Donkey Lane, which is like an improvised comedy podcast with different scenarios that I think, actually, now that I think about it, you should be on, Katie.
Okay.
Should absolutely be a guest on that. Derek Cranevelt says, I feel like this Chud episode has been teased for years at this point. It has been. I told the boys years ago I would be on to record a Chud episode. I have flaked on them ever since, and now,
dude, you gotta get to it.
Nowhere to run. I got nowhere to run. And as Jim Paganelli says, Daniel Stern and John Hurt in Chud, which is their Home Alone double threat because John Hurt played the dad in Home Alone.
Oh man, John Hurt, he was so good in that too. R.I.P. But I remember I referenced Chud in like a family email one time.
Why?
I don't know. I was, maybe I had a drink in me. I don't know. My dad emails me back and like, he's so innocent. I love my dad so much. He's so innocent in this stuff. And he's just like, what is a chud? And I'm like trying to explain. And like, he even called me up and was like, what is this? I don't understand. I was like, don't worry about it, Dad.
Listen, Katie, there's only one answer for a family member asking you on a family text what a chud is. It's you just write, you'll find out ... Like that's it. That's it.
I missed my opportunity. Okay.
What is a chud? If anybody ever asks me what is a chud, I look them dead in the eyes and I say, You'll find out.
No.
Just like I know that it's been spoiled by technology, but whenever you got like a wrong number phone call, and now obviously with our phones, if it's a wrong number, it just goes straight to voicemail. You can put that setting. Because it's usually spam.
Yeah.
So back in the day when you would pick up, I don't recognize this number, and you'd pick up, and somebody would ask for somebody who's not there. I think I've told the story, a pretty sad story on the phone, where I picked up the phone and somebody was like, "Hey, Reggie," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, this isn't Reggie." He's like, "Quit playing, boy. This is your dad." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, this isn't Reggie." He's like, "Your mom make you do this?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, you have the wrong number." And he hung up. And then 5 minutes later, he called back and goes, "Reggie, listen, I just got out. I want to see you. I don't care what your mom's been telling you. Like, I want to see my boy." And I was like, "I'm sorry, this isn't Reggie. I'm being serious with you." And this was like when I first moved to Los Angeles. I got the number. I guess it was his personal number. And he's like, "You're breaking my heart, so just know that." He hangs up, and then he calls back 5 minutes later. It's like,
and you pick up again?
I felt awful that this person who had probably just like spent, I don't know how much time away from society, was trying to reconnect with his son, and I had his son's number, and now like this father-son fucking he got game dream of like reconnecting, it was never gonna happen. He picked up the phone and I said, "Hey, listen," and he goes, "Is this really a wrong number?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry." And he's like, "It's okay." And he just hung up, and like I never heard from him again. I guess he found another avenue to reach his son, but like he got out and he really wanted to call his son, and I'm really glad. Like I hope they reconnected, and I'm really glad that I somehow had the wherewithal to not answer a wrong number how I usually do.
What up? It's Chud.
When most people call me and it's a wrong number, and they ask for some weird name that's not mine, obviously, and it could be any name but mine. Really, it's a wrong number. I usually just pause and I go, 3 more days, and I just hang up.
Oh no!
I just leave them with that.
Oh, I'm really glad you didn't do that.
Yeah, could you imagine if he was like, "Son, I just got out. I did some hard time, and I want to see you," and I was just like, 3 more days.
Oh my god, that poor guy. It's like, and I'm going back in because nope.
I it's like if I ever lost like an extreme amount of weight, like I think if I was really mean, I would just go around to restaurants that had like outdoor seating, and I would just go up to people and be like, "Thinner."
Oh no! Oh god! All right, that's a goal that I'm gonna have to achieve.
Yeah, if you lose a lot of weight, I think that you should go around and maybe like get really pasty. Just go up to people and just go, "Thinner," like in the Stephen King movie. Just do it.
I think that's perfect, especially if you live in LA. Especially if you live in LA, just go around Beverly Hills. Just thinner.
Yeah, thinner. I figure that we're on this planet for a very limited time.
Might as well.
And we're all gonna get the same going away present. It's gonna be like 6 feet of dirt, and then a couple years later, we get sucked into the sun when it like expands. So like, there's no escaping this planet. I tried. I got in a jetpack the other night, and a bunch of people like talked on me. Like I was like, I thought we were good. I got 3,000 feet up in the air, and the air traffic controller was like, "Dude, you got to get down."
I would love to have been in the cockpit when that happened. They're just like,
Is there a guided jetpack flying past?
And they said it was like 300 yards from like where they were, where the cockpit was. So like, that's not that far in terms of a giant airline.
No, I tried to get out of the way. First off, the planes are big. Okay, like credit that. Yeah. But listen, I tried to get out of the way, and I think they were aiming for me. It was really weird. And of course, I'm going to put myself in the flight path. The only place to land is the runway. You think I want to land on the 405? That's terrible. Okay, listen, we got to get serious because I know we talked about death, but we got to talk about this really awful news we got. And again, the chat room is open, and we'll read your comments. But Chadwick Boseman,
Jesus,
1976 to 2020, the Black Panther. He's just what shock did you experience learning
when
about Chadwick Boseman?
I have a friend that likes to inform people about big deaths, which is always weird. But when he texted, I thought it was a joke. And I was like, this is a weird thing to put out right now. And then, of course, the immediate thought is like, was it Corona? And then come to find out that he's been struggling with cancer since the day, like, I think even like either the day or like a little bit after he was announced to play Black Panther.
4 years he
Yeah.
carried. Yeah. From stage 3 to stage 4, he had colon cancer. And it's not pretty. Our friend Matt died of colon cancer at 31 years old last year. And watching a human being wither away and get to the point where they can't consume solids or liquids.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where I remember just sending Matt a Facebook message saying, hey, listen, I know you may not even have the strength to respond to this, but love you, man, and my life will always be different, because you were in it. And then like seeing that read receipt, like the read receipt, was big for me because he didn't. It was pretty late in the game, and Chadwick Boseman, like, what strength to carry this for that long.
Well, and to say such beautiful, like I've been watching nonstop all of his speeches and things that he's given. He was so profound and so inspiring, which I was like, well, you're struggling with this thing and, trying to take care of yourself. He's still trying to give back to everybody, like all the morsels of knowledge that he had, and all the beauty that he had in him. And we had just watched probably last weekend 21 Bridges, and he's phenomenal. I was like, I remember I even said, I cannot wait to see what he comes out with next, because it was such a great movie. And it's just so it's heartbreaking. And I just feel for his poor family and everybody who was good friends with him.
Geekscape is Ian Kerner sent it to me, and I think it was incredible. But his Black Panther director Ryan Coogler wrote a piece about Chadwick's passing and how they met. And Marvel was saying, "Hey, this is the guy who's going to be playing Black Panther. We really want you to direct it. You should go meet with him." And from that meeting on, just everything that they just became really close. And it sounds like something that happened a lot with Chadwick. And it's one of the best things I've read in a long time. So if y'all can, go out and find Ryan Coogler's, I don't want to call it a eulogy. It's just a piece on how incredible Chadwick Boseman was, to the point where, he met him on the set of Marvel's Captain America Civil War, and he's working with the older actor who is a legend of African cinema. And he, remember the older actor who played T'Challa's father in Civil War, and they're making decisions about what African language to speak as the Wakandan language, and the decisions they made. And then Chadwick goes and memorizes not only he just an entire monologue in a language he's never spoken before, and he does it very quickly to do it in this scene. As it's just impressive how dedicated he was to so many facets of his life. And I don't think that you can see it more clearly than the fact that this guy is battling a fatal disease while he's at the height of his career. The amount of output he did while he was sick is just, it's unfathomable.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And a young guy.
Yeah. Very young. He had so much more in him, and I don't know. It's almost like it's hard to say anything proper about it all. When he just had so many beautiful things to say about the world and passion for acting, and he was so talented. And I don't know if you heard the story that he was with an interviewer talking to them about how he bulked up for Black Panther, and then he slimmed down for some of these other movies. And the guy was like, that must have been incredibly difficult. And Chadwick just said, he laughed, and he was like, you have no idea. He's like, one day I'll tell you all about the whole story, but he's like, you have no idea.
Yeah, I think we know the story now. He was battling colon cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Insane. So I want y'all all to go out and not only vote,
Yes.
but also get checked. Like,
Please.
again, like I said at the top of the show, without your health, you got nothing. And I think as geeks, the stereotype is that we're not very healthy people.
Right.
I got to tell you, my back is whacked out from having beat God of War over the weekend.
Hey, did you enjoy the ending?
I enjoyed the ending to the game that everybody loved 2 years ago. God of War is incredible.
Okay. I can't do it.
And I started beating all the Valkyries, which is, when I checked with my friends to be like, hey man, I'm going around and like, doing all this Valkyrie stuff. They're like, are you insane? You didn't
I
do
remember
that.
the first Valkyrie I faced, and I was like, what is this? Do I have to do this? This is insane. It's so hard.
You do.
It was fun. It was fun. I don't know if I got through all of them, though. But
I'm determined. It takes me about 3 tries to beat them. It takes me twice to like learn the moves. And then that third one, Valkyrie is going down. I'm taking those Valkyries down, and it's fun. It's I think it's great when you beat a game and it still leaves you the world to explore and to finish. And I had done everything but the Valkyrie. I beat 2 Valkyries out of the 8 before I completed the game, and I did everything else. Else. So I will do those remaining 6 Valkyries, and then I will move on to a game. And Geekscape, I know we got the PS5 coming out, and we got a new Xbox coming out. What are you going to be playing going into Christmas? The game I'm looking at right now that my friends have been recommending is Control, which I hear is awesome.
I've been meaning. I think I downloaded that from Game Pass on Xbox. I've been meaning to get into that because I keep seeing the trailer and whatnot, and it looks really good and intriguing. I hear it's very puzzle oriented.
I love that. Those are some of my favorite parts of God of War, is just trying to figure out how to open chests or how to like do certain things. I learned about the Chadwick Boseman passing again from my friend Ian Kerner, who's on the show frequently, and Justin, while I was in my car sitting in the drive-in, which was actually the Rose Bowl parking lot. I went to this thing. The New Mutants is out. This is the Marvel movie that was like supposed to come out 3 years ago, and New Mutants is based on the Marvel comic that's like the young X-Men. Because when you remember, it's like the 3rd phase of X-Men. The first, it's like the core 5. You got Cyclops and Jean Grey and Iceman and Beast and Angel, and then X-Men got canceled after like several issues. It ran up until like the 50s or 60s or 70 issues, and then it got canceled, and they didn't get revamped until the 70s when they came back and brought like the other international team, the new international team that had like Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, Nightcrawler. That's the popular team. That's the team that like everybody
knows,
loves. And so the New Mutants was like the mid 80s attempt to do a new X-Men team, and they were new teenagers, they were new international mutants, and this was the New Mutants, who like in the 80s were super popular, and but they were never going to be as popular as the Wolverine X-Men, but they got Chris Claremont to write it. Chris Claremont's the guy who like wrote the Dark Phoenix saga, Days of Future Past, all the classic X-Men stories from the early 80s. And this one, the movie, I got to tell you, talk about troubled. It was supposed to come out 3 years ago. It went through the whole Fox Disney merger. You thought this movie was never going to come out. You start hearing rumors about how bad the movie is. You start hearing rumors about the reshoots. You start hearing all these different stories about how Disney's going to shelve it. I got to tell you,
to be honest, is kind of par for the course in terms of X-Men movies. I mean, like it seems to be in the genre of them coming across the silver screen. But
Mau says, I heard the co-creator of the comic, his name was spelt wrong in the credits of the New Mutants. I did not check that, but I got to tell you, if it's the artist Bill Sienkiewicz, who I totally mispronounced, who has an incredible artist, like he did like the Electro Assassin stuff. He has a really cool expressive art style. If it's Bill Sienkiewicz, I think is his name, easy to misspell. Totally easy to misspell. It is a like Eastern European name that is super easy to misspell because it has like two like vowels in it.
Still.
yeah. You should double check that. But
again, still feels par for the course with X-Men movies.
well, I won't get into spoiler territory here because I'm still looking forward to sitting down with Ian and doing a special with him. Because whenever any of these Marvel movies come out, and this is still technically a Marvel movie, whenever these movies come out, I sit down with Ian and we go full spoilerific. Ian is an encyclopedia of comic book knowledge, and we talk about Marvel movies on Geekscape specials. So I'll save the spoiler stuff for the Ian special, where we just go and talk about New Mutants once he's seen the movie. But I got to tell you, for a movie that people said was going to be a complete disaster, it's been a complete disaster upon making. I was looking forward to it because, hey, what's to lose? It's probably a great drive-in movie. You don't have to, it can be campy. It doesn't have to be that good because you're doing a picnic in your car. I really enjoyed New Mutants. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I actually think that as far as the X universe goes on film, it's as loyal as, Deadpool is the one that nailed it tonally, character-wise. Like, Deadpool is kind of the high bar. I love the X-Men movies to some degree. I love X-Men X2. I love X2. I really enjoy First Class. I kind of, to a degree, enjoy Days of Future Past. Okay. But there were in every core X-Men movie, there were like places where you're like, wait a minute. Why did he wait, that's not the character. Kitty Pryde doesn't have those powers. Or you're sitting there going, wait, why did Mystique do this when she's doing that? Mystique,
supposed to be doing this, yeah.
Like, what's going on? Like, just weird interpretations. I got to tell you, New Mutants is probably up there with Deadpool as far as being totally faithful to the characters. It is
fantastic.
The movie only has like 6 people in it. the five New Mutants and like their doctor. So you're watching them in this psych ward where they are learning to control their powers so that they're not dangerous to themselves or others. And they're discovering their powers, and they were all put there because there had been a disaster with their powers. But the characters are all pretty consistent with their comic book iterations. They're pretty faithful, and they act consistently with their characters. Not like, you're not going to get a scene like at the end of Days of Future Past where like the Striker ends up being Mystique, and then you're like scratching your head being like, wait, but then Weapon X is supposed to happen after that. Why would Mystique, who's horrified by the torturing of mutants earlier in the movie, then put Wolverine, who she just fished out of the water, into the Weapon X program where he gets adamantium in his skeleton and is tortured? Like, there's like weird consistency stuff for the characters in those movies. This one was fun.
It was pretty true to form and all that.
Yeah, and is it a great movie? Not really. Is it a good movie? I think it's totally a good movie. I wish that it would be a trilogy, because some of the stuff you read about that they actually shot but cut, you're like, damn, that would have been good. And there's Easter eggs in this movie. Both blatantly and subtly, the Easter eggs in this movie are awesome.
Okay, all right.
I said it. I'm going to mute myself now so I can cough.
Okay, go for it. Do you feel that, like, in being in quarantine for so long and like having so little content to consume and like watch and enjoy, do you feel like your taste has been lowered at all? I feel like
no. If anything, I am sharper and my tastes are heightened, like like a freaking Canadian berserker rage enabled Wolverine. My senses are at the highest because
all right.
Listen, this New Mutants movie is good, and it should get sequels. And I wish that this thing hadn't just gotten a drive-in release, but I got to tell you, that drive-in was packed with cars.
Sure.
The cars were packed with people. Well, hopefully they were all podding together because Corona.
They're chatting together.
And it's supposed to get a VOD DVD release later in November. So I kind of wish it would kind of be done like day and date with the drive-in, so that people who couldn't make it to a drive-in could go see the movie for themselves and watch it at home. Right. But you can't really do that and then like charge people for Milan later or Disney Plus. Like Disney kind of is like, oh yeah, we can't really dump it on Disney Plus because
I mean, they will eventually, but yeah, no, they're kind of setting their own precedent, and everybody's just figuring it out at the moment. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think you're totally right.
It's a fun movie, and I look forward to talking about it with Ian, because there were moments in the movie where I got legitimately excited to see these characters on screen, and I want to see more of them. And I definitely want to see the planned trilogy that the director wanted, because some of it sounded really cool. So I'm a New Mutants fan, and I hope that there's a small fan like uproar that builds around this movie. Yeah, because it was fun, and it absolutely can fit in the MCU. If you can put Deadpool in the MCU, which they're totally going to put Deadpool in the MCU, you can put New Mutants in the MCU.
I'm curious if they're ever going to do is Deadpool kills the MCU, because that way I know I get it, I know, but at the same time, it's so bonkers. Yeah. It's such a great potential movie.
Well, it has to be a sequel to The Punisher Kills the MCU, which was the original Kills the MCU comic that came out in the mid-90s. So I'm down, but the Disney stockholders would be like, wait, what are you doing? You're
kill everybody.
You can't do this.
They're going to retrofit it. Anyway.
Rick says, should Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, or someone else play Dazzler in a movie? Well, we got a Dazzler in Dark Phoenix. It was a nice brief scene. I thought it was cool. There were not a lot of highlights for me in Dark Phoenix, but seeing Dazzler was cool. I don't know if you get a high profile person to play a smaller niche character like Dazzler, because you end up in this problem where you create you get a high profile person like Jennifer Lawrence did in Mystique, and then you lose her and she gets very expensive very quickly, especially when you start adding really big high profile actors like James McAvoy and et cetera around them. Like, that cast becomes very expensive. So I don't know if you go for a big name for a character like Dazzler. If you're going to put Dazzler in the movie, I think you got to make a smaller name, and I don't see how you do Dazzler, who has light powers, and not just do Jubilee, who has spark powers.
Their powers.
Jim Pugnarelli says New Mutants is going to go to HBO Max. It's still under Fox's terms with HBO, despite Fox owning Disney now. That's an interesting thing, and I think it's nice. Well, we'll see. I just want Geekscapists to watch the movie because I enjoyed the movie, and y'all can come back and be like, you were wrong, New Mutants stunk. But I loved it.
It's funny, X-Men is kind of my blind spot, but the one movie that I did watch, the new movie that I watched over the weekend, was the new Bill and Ted movie. And honestly, I had a lot of fun with that movie because I was introduced to Bill and Ted pretty late in the game, and like a couple of weeks ago, late in the game. Because
what?
I know. Well, here's the thing. I grew up very Christian, so I wasn't allowed to watch certain movies in certain context. So a lot of my geekdom and a lot of my stuff has come very late in life. And so I saw. First Bill and Ted I didn't see until maybe a couple months ago. It was in quarantine. I know.
You was just saying, hey, in quarantine, has your taste been numbed for content? And you haven't even seen Bill and Ted? I got to tell you, shortly before the recording of this podcast, Heidi admitted to me that she hasn't seen my favorite Tim Burton movie. That's right. It's Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's a classic, and it's amazing. And I have it on DVD, and we're going to rectify that. Don't you worry, Geekscapists. She will be watching Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and that is not some kind of weird sex metaphor. She will be seeing the Tim Burton classic.
Right.
So you watched Bill and Ted. What did you think of the first two Bill and Ted movies before we get into our Bill and Ted Face the Music talk?
Okay, so the first one I thought was so much fun. I love the idea of just like idiot genius. It's kind of been a reoccurring theme, I think, through history of film. The second one was so bonkers. It felt like, the robot in Rocky IV, how that just kind of appears. It feels like that entire movie was the Rocky IV robot, but.
Yeah. That being said, I enjoy. Is this wrong that I enjoy Bogus Journey more than Excellent Adventure? I love Excellent Adventure. And I love both Bill and Ted, those films, but Bogus Journey to me is amazing because of that. It is weird.
So the thing, they're their own movies. Like, I feel like, so when you go through space and time, but then you go, that was a wait.
Derek says that is the best. The robot is the best part of Rocky IV.
No, I heard there's a new cut of Rocky IV where they don't put the robot in. I'm like, thank you, because that robot had
that is not a world I want to live on.
Bogus Journey was insane to begin with. First of all, George Carlin's outfits, they just threw together some stuff and slapped it on his body. Like you could see where the cuts kind of were like, fuck it.
It's like they raided Arsenio Hall's wardrobe and put it on George Carlin for Bogus Journey.
They cuts and they're like, this could be like Arsenio Hall's. But
I love Bogus Journey.
It's fun. It's a totally fun movie. It's like for that one, they totally go. It's existential with like heaven and hell and all this stuff. It's insane, but I loved it. I thought it was really fun. And then honestly, I had a blast with this one. I loved Face the Music.
Okay, so let's talk about it. It's my way of saying, let me just give me time to throw up the banner on the live video feed. Let's talk about Bill and Ted Face the Music. I don't necessarily want to spoil it for the Geekscapists because we don't do spoilers on the show, but I think you enjoyed it, I'm guessing.
I did. And I do see somebody talking about Noho Hank. He was fantastic. Noho Hank, the guy from Barry, he plays a character in this. Him saying his name, Dennis Caleb McCoy, was probably the funniest thing. And I loved the daughters. They did fantastic impressions of Bill and Ted though they were younger. And even the girl who plays, I want to say Ted's daughter, even like had the whole like head movement and everything. Which was dead on. They were fantastic.
Yeah, I thought that, this might be blasphemous, but it's kind of crazy that in one weekend I saw 2 new releases almost immediately. I haven't done that in months.
It's been a while, yeah.
And I think that it's also crazy that out of the 2 new releases, I actually enjoyed New Mutants more than Bill and Ted Face the Music because... you know what? I really enjoyed Bill and Ted Face the Music. I think Bill and Ted Face the Music is a lot of fun. And like you said, you're just feeling it over and over again. It's a little bit of like just nostalgia, but they add so much new stuff. Dennis, the killer robot, is probably my favorite addition to the Bill and Ted universe. I can totally watch a Dennis movie by itself. And the actor... If y'all aren't watching Barry on HBO, if you're not watching Bill Hader's Barry on HBO, you're missing out on a great series, and he's one of the best actors in it.
I have that.
It is, I enjoyed Bill and Ted Face the Music. I think that it was a lot of fun. It's what you want in a Bill and Ted movie. The one thing is, like, I did kind of want the daughters to not be Bill and Ted-ish. I wanted them to be into music, but what if they were not dopey like Bill and Ted? What if they were just super smart? And there are aspects of them that are, it took away a little bit away from the uniqueness that are Bill and Ted to have 2 characters that are close to them in the same movie. That being said, the movie's awesome. Yeah, I think the movie's fun.
Yeah, no, and I get not wanting them to be exactly like them. I just couldn't see their kids being like total geniuses for any reason. Like, I know like they're female characters. We don't want to portray for female characters.
Yeah, that's not why. It's just to kind of use as foils,
Right. Well, I thought they had that whole basically idiot savant thing still, and that one of the daughters was like super knowledgeable about like multiverse type situations, which I thought was amazing.
It was fun to see Death again. Because again, like I'm a huge Bogus Journey fan, so seeing Death again was great. Seeing like the way that their careers had fallen apart, and I love that Bill and Ted are faced with the idea of like, okay, in the first movie, you were told that you were going to write a song that saves the world. Right. Where is it? And now they have to race into the multiverse to steal it from themselves because somewhere in the multiverse they wrote the song that saves the world. The world, all of existence. And I love seeing, you can see it in the trailers where they show up in like a prison, and Bill and Ted are now like these jacked up guys in prison. There's different iterations of Bill and Ted in the multiverse. I loved seeing those scenes where they're like ending up facing each other and having to outsmart each other. I thought it was amazing. That stuff was great. A lot of fun.
Even though I saw the trailer with them all jacked up, I didn't realize it was them, like in some future where they're all jacked up in prison. And I was just like, when they got to that part, I was like, oh, that's them.
Oh, the makeup was amazing in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
The makeup in this movie is one of the best parts of the movie. Just seeing all the different versions of Bill and Ted with the different makeup was awesome. And I don't want to spoil it for y'all, but like, watch if you're a Bill and Ted fan, watch this movie. It is even if it's not like the most amazing movie plot wise and this and that, like I think the movie's a lot of fun. It just feels good to watch a Bill and Ted movie, and I'll take another Bill and Ted movie any day of the week.
Amen. Yes, it's true. I will say the ending felt a bit abrupt for me, but everything else was it was pure fun. I was laughing the whole time. It was a crazy fun ride. Which is kind of just what those movies are.
Yeah, Jim Pellegrino says that he's still not over how good Alex Winter was. Alex Winter is fantastic.
He kept his whole character. I feel like Keanu like dropped a little bit of his character.
Maybe,
it might have been in the writing, because he even says in the trailer, he's like, I'm just tired. And I was like, oh wow, that's so weird to hear.
On Twitch, Cat Lady 723, who's also known as Slow Me, longtime Geekscapist from the beginning. She says, if John gives this his blessing, I'm stoked to watch it tonight. I think you should. I think you should watch it tonight. I liked the Bill and Ted Face the Music. Richter says it looked like they put a silicone mask of Keanu on a different actor. Hey man, let's see you at age 50 something. You definitely won't be pulling no John Wick for sure.
And to that same effect, Alex Winter looked freaking amazing for his age.
They've both been taking care of themselves, and maybe it's because Alex Winter has not been having to like do stunts on films. He's been directing documentaries.
I can't believe that he's just directing documentaries now.
He makes some very, very good documentaries. If y'all want to see a good one, he made a documentary. It was one of his early documentaries on Napster, on the whole history of Napster, around the time Napster was falling apart. It was great. And when I was doing some early on in Geekscape, I was doing a show for Fox called Singledom that we were doing as like a pilot. Yeah. And I would go into meet on Singledom, and they were also using, there were other directors in that little hubbub. I ended up just doing Geekscape, but they all ended up doing great stuff.
Give yourself some time.
Alex Winter was one of the other directors, and Alex Winter's, I would show up to Fox and Alex Winter, and they'd be like, oh, you just missed Alex Winter's. And I'm like, you need to call me next time you have a meeting with Alex Winters. I want to meet Alex Winters so much. Here's the irony of this whole thing is that this was an office that was just off the Fox lot over by it was on Santa Monica and like Beverly Glen or something. And I would go to this office maybe once a week. And there were 3 times that I missed Alex Winters. It was like, oh, you missed Alex Winters. He was just here. One day I'm over there and there's no Alex Winters talk. But I get into the elevator to leave. Who's in the elevator? Wearing a motorcycle jacket, holding his helmet? Keanu Reeves. I get it. I totally forgot this story until now. I get in the elevator, and this is 11, 12 years ago. Well, you would regularly see creatives and talent over there. So I get in the elevator, and Keanu Reeves is standing there, and he's kind of leaning back in the elevator, and he's got his motorcycle jacket, and he just looks cool as hell because he's freaking Keanu Reeves, and he's awesome. And I was so shocked. I'm just like looking at him, like, and he looks back at me, and he's like, what are you doing? And then I realized I didn't hit the elevator button for any floor. And he just goes, okay. And he hits the close button. He's like, I guess you're going to the garage. And I was like, I will go anywhere with you, Keanu Reeves.
No,
I mean, I parked around I didn't say it, but I mean, I parked on the street, but I totally took no, actually I was in the garage. I remember because the guys in the garage were very nice to me. I was in the garage and I took the garage with Keanu Reeves. And he was we didn't talk, but he looked at me, he shrugged, he hit the close elevator button, and then we rode in silence for 3 floors, and he got on his motorcycle and he drove away, and he was the best. Jim Pogranelli says, if you can track it down, Alex Winters, he directed this movie called Freaked. It's one of Matt Kelly of Horror Movie Night's favorite movies. It's a fun movie. It is an effing weird movie. And it's also like, if you're a Mr. T fan, if you watch Freaked, it may dent your appreciation of Mr. T. And suddenly we're talking about Rocky characters again because he was in Rocky 3. So,
of course. Yep, of course. Yeah, I heard that one of my friends met Alex Winter, and he was like, he's just the sweetest guy, which is what I assume of Keanu as well. He's the sweetest guy, and he just loves movies. He loves talking about movies, and doesn't mind, like, if you just go up and talk to him about stuff. It's like, doesn't mind talking about.
We have a Geekscape friend, Tommy Avalone. Some of y'all may know him from past episodes. He directs really awesome documentaries. He did the one about meeting Bill Murray and like how much he wanted to meet Bill Murray. It's the Bill Murray stories. It's up on Netflix right now, where different people talk about these weird stories of having run into Bill Murray that are like real stories of Bill Murray just suddenly showing up at like their softball game or at like their wedding or their house party. And these are real stories. And Tommy did this documentary. He also did a great documentary about mall Santas 11 months out of the year when it's not December, called I Am Santa Claus with Mick Foley. Tommy is friends with Alex through the documentary directing filmmaking circuit. And we've talked about getting Alex on the show because I would love to talk to the guy about his filmmaking and everything. He's awesome.
Yeah, he is. He's just a solid guy.
Cat Lady on Twitch says, I saw Freaked really young and I thought it was made up until I heard Alex Winters talk about it on a podcast. No, Freaked is real. It's just a really weird movie.
I love that you saw the movie and were even after seeing the movie, you're like, this can't be a real movie.
She saw it as a young age and she's like, did I dream that? If you dreamed Freaked at a young age, you had a messed up childhood. Because Freaked is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bill and Ted Face the Music. We definitely recommend it. And
I absolutely recommend it.
Honestly, if you're up for like having a picnic in your car and going out to the drive-in to watch New Mutants and you're a fan, I say go watch New Mutants. I liked New Mutants. It was fun.
All right. You know, you keep talking about the drive-in stuff, and I still haven't done it yet. Mark and I still haven't done it yet, and you're talking me into it. I'm thinking that this might be a fun little outing type of thing to do. We're pretty holed up. We haven't really gone out.
Listen, Katie, Josh's father was like, he died of coronavirus. I would never leave my house again.
Jonathan,
and what's that?
His name is Mark.
I'm sorry, I said Josh. I was thinking of Josh because when I was thinking about that bubble that I was in, that creative bubble, Josh Trank, director of the last Fantastic Four movie, was also in that little system. So
gotcha.
Yeah, Mark's father died of coronavirus, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this stuff because clearly I go out and I exercise in the morning. I had a meeting today, socially distanced from my producer. We're talking about how do we go back to production. I look up and I see people shooting, listening to Ronnie Chang talk about going to Australia and filming a movie.
Right.
It was Shang-Chi. I mean, let's not be secret about that. There's only one major Hollywood film shooting in Australia.
One. Yeah, exactly.
Listening to them talk about production, and also like seeing my friends online do shorts and doing one-day shoots or pop-ups and stuff. Like, I want to go back and shoot, but we got to do it safely. I've been tested 4 times. I'm going to keep getting tested. I'm going to keep social distancing, and I'm going to make sure anybody that walks up on one of my sets, whether I'm filming for a week or filming for a day or filming for a month, we're going to regularly get tested. I'm freaked out by this whole thing, which brings me back to the big point of the show. You know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, y'all should vote. All right.
I was hoping for that little thing. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah.
Register to vote. Geekscape is like, I'm getting a little bit stir crazy creatively. I've been writing a lot. I've been developing a lot. A lot of that stuff is Geekscape stuff. And I love live streaming with y'all. This has been a really fun episode, and there's a lot of people who've been watching this, but I want to get back to telling some cool stories with a camera and with some scripts and with other people in person. And there's only one way to get out of that. We have got to put this pandemic behind us, and we've got to put a pretty dark chapter of American history behind us. I don't remember this going on any time in my previous 36 years, but the last 4 years have been pretty nasty. You got to vote.
Yeah, and it's the only thing that's going to make things change. Is it's kind of one of those things that, like, when you feel creatively stuck, like there's something in you that you have to change. When we're stuck as a country and technically as a world, we've got some things to change.
Watching the RNC and people being like, "Oh, this is Biden's America is going to be scary," and they're showing imagery from Trump's America.
Trump's America.
I'm like, what? Are you trying to gaslight all of us? Like, dude, homie, you're showing footage from your presidency and threatening people with it.
And I will say, everybody does have their own opinion. Everybody does have their right to vote for whatever side you want. Please, don't vote third party. That's the only thing that I beg of you. I understand that, like, you have your voice and you have your say in everything, but third party is just, it's going to sway it the wrong way. So please.
I'm going to augment that a tiny bit, Katie. Please. I'm going to say, in the presidential election, or your senator's election, or the congressional, at the top of the ticket, like at the presidential and your senatorial elections. Yes, I agree with Katie. Do not vote third party. We have got to flip this, because we're living in a really weird time, and this is not your traditional Republican. These are like weird. Like, again, there's like Katie just had a caravan of tanks drive past her house last Sunday. It's insane. Let's bring back the rational Republicans. They will be there. You got, who's the dude in Utah who sounds like imagine him. Like, pretty
fair dude.
I'm like, there are a couple out there. Yeah,
and local
John McCain was one of them. And I'm not, I like Biden, but Biden also, he authored the 94 crime bill that sent a lot of black men into prison. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I like, but at the top of the ticket, you gotta toss this guy. And then if you want to do third party, let's find some cool local elections, some independents, some people with some crazy ideas. Vote. Which
I'm so into. I'm so into for local elections and things like that. Absolutely. Get involved in that kind of stuff as well. I just want to also shout out, say, hey, what's up, Aaron Hedrick? Sorry, saw you earlier.
I love Aaron. Aaron's been talking, and Aaron's just been talking in the comments. And Aaron, if you have not watched the Bill Murray stories on Netflix, I think you'd really enjoy it. That's Tommy Avallone's documentary, and it's awesome. Dan Campazano, he's in the chat, and he says, you're talking about Mitt Romney. Yes, I'm talking about fellow Utah Jazz fan from Utah, Mitt Romney. And it's just the whole strategy was, vote for me because only I can fix all this shit that has been broken since I've been in charge. I'm like, dude, we didn't have this shit.
Yeah, and especially, here's the thing that I find interesting. There's so many promises that have been broken, especially, and I know it's a politician's way, but let's just take one specific example. He said he was going to ban TikTok. I don't know about y'all, but I've seen a lot more TikTok videos, and it has not been banned. So
what about that wall? Did you get your racist wall? Not only did you not get your racist wall, you paid for you paid for it. You paid for the non-racist wall, and if you paid for it through the racist wall for America or whatever that thing was, you got grifted.
You got jacked.
Steve Bannon grifted you, so now you have to pay to be racist. So let's just correct the whole ship. Let's not vote for celebrities anymore. Let's not vote for reality TV show hosts, or else we're all going to end up on fucking Survivor like we're doing right now.
Yeah, we definitely are, and a lot of people are losing, and that really sucks. That really sucks.
Like you said, like we're telling you right here on the show, if you're acting like this is a hoax, if you're acting like it's all a bunch of deep state lies, Katie here, her boyfriend Mark, who she lives with, who can come on camera anytime, his own father died of corona, a pandemic that did not have to happen.
Yeah. And the thing that's frustrating to me is that there's even people that are denying that this is a pandemic to begin with, which I am shocked by.
6%.
I think that we're smarter as a country, and we're smarter, especially in the geek realm. We're a lot smarter than a lot of this conversation has gone. So please share safety, share everything, but don't share your germs. Share your love, share your safety. Don't share your germs.
Do not share your germs. Please lock down and pod up with people. I think there's 3 people in my pod. There's 4. There's Heidi and another couple. That's it. That's who we see. I would love to see all of you. And here's the thing: before this pandemic hit, I wanted to do these Geekscape lives. I wanted to do them in a theater. I talked to Katie about it. I said, "Hey, Katie, like we got to find cool theaters and do once a month a live Geekscape on stage with a desk and like cool co-host stuff and skits." We wanted to do that.
I dare call them skits.
No, they're skits for me because I'm not as good as you. And then for me, it's like a high school skit. For you, you make them professional. You make them sketches. I'm going to keep saying that now that I know it's your button.
I hate it so much.
I'll be like, enjoy some skits. And
it's
then
third grade when you're trying to learn the food groups. Sketches.
Yeah. Anyway. And I think that's about the level of maturity that I would bring to those skits. And I wanted to do picnics. I wanted to do some Geekscape picnics and like meetups and stuff like that. So maybe next year, but we got to vote, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, any final thoughts, Katie?
Just be kind to each other, guys, and that means not just being selfish and kind to yourself, but be kind to other people. You have no idea. I mean, you've seen it through Chadwick. You've seen it through so many people. Please just be kind to people. You have no idea what they're going through.
You missed a prime opportunity to say be excellent to each other.
I
may never forgive you for that.
Be excellent to each other.
Katie, if I'm going to be doing live skits with you, I'm going to need you to be fast.
So I hate you so much with that.
Mao on Twitch says, I want to see some of Katie's skits.
Mao, why?
Let's be careful with how we write that, because 2 letters get swapped out for 1 letter, and you're not going to be watching Katie's skits.
Oh, okay.
No. This is a live video show, but we do have our standards. They're very low, but those will be beneath them. Katie, do not show your skits on the live video, please.
Maybe that'll get you to stop saying skits. Maybe.
I'm gonna go finish the episode and go down the street and get myself some Skittles. A rainbow of fruit flavors. Katie, you do what you got to do. You can find Katie on social media at Sassy Pants, Sassy Pants, Mistress of Skits. You can find us. If you're watching live, you can find us on any podcatcher. Subscribe to Geekscape. If you get us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, I think is what it's called, Google Play. We should be on all of them. Go ahead and leave us a review, those 5 stars. We love it. Visit Geekscape.net if you want to listen to any of our other podcasts. We got tons of them. Usually if you put Geekscape in a podcatcher, you'll see all the shows that we provide here on the Geekscape network. And if you want to be a little bit social with us, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, basically all of them social medias.
Check out the new t-shirts. The new t-shirts are awesome.
Well, the new t-shirts are also sold out, Katie, because I had to stop the pre-orders, and I actually have to put these in the mail now. So that is what we're gonna do.
Well, never mind. Don't do that.
But you can still order some of the classic shirts. Don't Hate, Create, the Geekscape logo, the Geekscape dragon shirt. We got a ton of cool designs. We're going to make more of them. But first things first, we got to bring you some podcasts. We got to bring you some films. We got to bring you some projects. We got to bring you some skits. We got to bring you some cool stuff. And Katie, thank you for joining me.
If you say skit one more goddamn time.
Geekscape loves you.
And I love you guys too. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
We will talk to y'all next week. What do you say? Set the date, subscribe, do all that stuff, and Geekscape forever.